really have a good title here. It's really the title which represents the objective of our work in targeting technologies under the HOPE project, and it's really analysis of baseline studies, baseline surveys, which we did undertake commencing 2010-11. And we will hear from Dr. Chandrakanth, who is from UAS Bangalore, and who is a colleague who's been with us, working with us for many, many years, and has revived this engagement through this project. And I would like to call upon Dr. Nagaraj to give much more details from it's better to hear from a very close and good friend, because he will even reveal more things than I will do. So, Nagaraj.
Thank you, madam. Again, pleasant welcome to all of you, and very good morning to you. Just I would like to introduce Professor Chandrakanth. He is a distinguished professor at UAS Bangalore, Professor of Agricultural Economics. He had a rich experience to work with collaborative projects, and we had almost 3 decades we worked together. And of late I just ported the UAS Bangalore and joined here, and my colleague still is continuing. He had a wide experience, especially in the field level. I would like to give a small brief introduction what is the background or backdrop of this study. I think Dr. Belam or everyone knows that in the beginning we had initial problems almost for 1 year. So the focus of HOPE project is to bring about, that means is to improve or enhance the productivity by 35 to 40% over a span of 4 years over the benchmark or over the locals, and also to bring about desirable changes in the production system. So all the objectives geared towards achieving the final outcome of enhancing productivity, profitability, and desirable changes. So in order to compare, we need contrast. So we need a sort of a benchmark to compare to what extent, that means whether we have achieved our goals or not. So in this regard, we initiated a baseline survey, as Madam Cynthia put it, in all the clusters in the SAT India, especially for pearl millet and sorghum. So we had a tremendous pressure to achieve these milestones and target, because 1 year there was almost there was some problem in or delay in recruiting the position, and I joined late the beginning of I think 2011 April, and our project management team manager and also HOPE project manager, he had expressed concern several times now that it left you how could this one fulfill. So, and also there was so much pressure, it was unbearable. Then I requested Madam Cynthia, she agreed thoroughly, and so after completion of baseline we did analysis, and we wanted to say jointly prepare the report, and I wanted the inputs from Professor Chandrakanth, and he had readily agreed, and accordingly we gave a contract for 6 months. And as part of this is the final seminar to share the findings with the wider audience. Of course, these findings have already been discussed in annual review meetings in other forums, but this is mainly what message we can give to the breeders and others at the end. So normally the baseline surveys or studies, such studies, should be within 6 months and within 1 year, so that we can give clear signals to the other objective leaders. These are the key constraints. So in other words, the baseline study mainly focused to study the inventory of existing situation on what is the position of the resource inventory, the yield gaps, the economics of competing crops, then consumer preference, what are the desirable traits. So there are many. That means it gives a scenario, existing scenario. So that gives an excellent information for the project in order to compare what this one, what we have achieved and what we have not achieved. So here we have considered both the sorghum, that means Maharashtra, Western Maharashtra and Parbhani, and also other 3 states for pearl millet, and other details I think Professor Chandrakanth will be discussing. And so I will be closely attending this one at the end of the presentation after 40 minutes. I think we will have some 15 minutes question answer. So it will be a joint contribution, and just request Dr. Chandrakanth mainly to focus on the key findings so that restrict time also 35 to 40 minutes. So that another 10-15 minutes we can devote for interaction and question answers. With this, I am offering the floor to you.
Namaste to all of you, and Chandrakanth from Bangalore, student of economics. I thought this opportunity gives me a very challenging scenario, because right now what is happening is the consumption of millets is falling. I thought it's just the consumption of foxtail millet, kodo millet, proso millet, which are not the minded of agricultural crops, is falling. Also at some level the consumption of these millets, sorghum, pearl millets also. But the scenario is very different at the micro and macro level. But other challenge I thought I would like to share with you is, it is not challenging to work with irrigated crops or irrigated areas. It is not a challenge to work with transitional tracts because rainfall is good, but it's really a challenge to work with sad areas where not only the resource depletion is there, but also high temperatures. I experienced myself because I was a member of the QR team of ICR to visit Gujarat, Rajasthan and other parts. Okay, so let us come to the presentation. Okay, this baseline survey, of course, as you know, covers 4 states and 5 areas: Maharashtra, Gujarat, Rajasthan and Haryana. So I'll try to present the key findings, also some of the details which are necessary to be presented. So the presentation will be covering the socio-economic profile, status of resource environments, cropping pattern, improved varieties and practices are adopted, then yield gaps, which are very important for ICRISAT and other organizations to address, input-output levels and profitability, technology and trade preference of the farmers, then consumption, because that is the one which drives the effective demand, both fodder and feed, and then marketing channels, and of course the general participation. Because millets, as we see, I feel a contribution largely by women, but now they are neglected. The sample frame, of course, I think you know these villages which we took in Maharashtra and other states. Of course, we have the hope and non-hope areas for contrast. So let me go to the socio-economic profile just to give a basic scenario of these farmers. Family size, of course, is uniform, around 6 to 7 in Marathwada and Western Maharashtra, because we have taken 2 areas in Maharashtra. Compared to other states, only 1 region is taken. Literacy, 7 to 8 years of schooling or 6 to 7 years of schooling. Castes, other castes dominate, followed by the OBCs in hope and non-hope areas in both the regions. Then small and marginal farmers, this is important, about 30 to 40% of the holdings belong to small and marginal holdings, and about 50% of the holdings in non-hope, they are small and marginal farmers, because these are the target farmers, and these are the farmers who only are the hope for millets. Then agriculture, primary occupation in both areas, and age group, we can say middle age group between 35 to 45 years, they are the age group of farmers. And holding size about 4 hectares in Marathwada and about 3.6 hectares in hope in Western Maharashtra, so they are also comparable. And the most important factor is about 75% of the land is rain-fed in Marathwada, and about 40% is rain-fed Western Maharashtra. Resource endowments, you can see because livestock is a very important component in these dry land areas, because this livestock which drives the according to me, livestock will be the driver of the consumption of millet through fodder, and therefore the millets which are tending to becoming inferior goods will become normal goods through conversion of the fodder to livestock products. So that is, therefore livestock is a very important component which will hold or which will drive the consumption of millets through the fodder, and therefore 70% of the farmers have two draft animals, and in Marathwada here about 50% of the farmers. So this is a very important component, and you can see local and improved cows. Because for milk production, not only, and as you know, milk production forms the single largest commodity in India, which forms about more than 25% of the total value of the real GDP. So it's very important that milk animals are there in these areas. The value of the assets you can see quite impressive in Hope and non-Hope areas. The dwelling house they have worth about 1 to 2 lakhs. Bullock carts, and then mobile phones. That means though the areas are quite hot and all this, the communication is still appreciable, and television. So communication is a very key that can be used to even herald technologies. So that is one message, and also transportation. In the sense, many of them have two-wheelers in the Hope area, and again. In a rainfed area is the great challenge, because a great proportion of areas are rainfed conditions. Income status, you can see income from all sources, about 2 lakhs, 2 to 2.5 lakhs, and the important crops in Marathwada are cotton, pigeon pea, rabi sorghum, sorghum safflower, and you can see the proportion of income from crops, about 70% of the total income from crops, and daily is also contributing about 10% of the total income, feeding on the sorghum fodder. And in non-Hope area, you can see that again cotton and pigeon pea are the major kharif crops, and sorghum and wheat are rabi crops. And you can see the wage and non-farm income also contribute about 18%, but crop income about 65% of the total income. Then dairy contributes income here, as I mentioned earlier. The important message from this is that the per capita income is quite low, about 300,000 rupees, which is maybe around maybe 2/3 or 50% is 2/3 of the India's per capita income. So India's per capita income is about 53,000 rupees now, but here the per capita incomes are very low. So that also we have to take care. Then the crop productivity, we will see that in Marathwada about 73% of the area is under sorghum, which forms about 17% of the GCA, because rabi sorghum dominates. Other crops are smaller, wheat and safflower. Then for productivity, the challenge I think which is before us is the productivity is low and the yield gaps are alarming. More than 50 to 100%, sometimes even up to 150%. So how to bridge the yield gap is a very big problem, and that will be a great challenge to the scientists, not only scientists but also the extension workers, and also to the government to create a favorable environment. So you can see in the normal rainfall, the yield is about 9 to 10 quintals, above normal 14 to 15, below normal it comes very low to 3 to 5 quintals, and therefore the yield gap you can see is about 153%, since the 20 quintals is the recommended yield from the improved varieties, and therefore there is tremendous scope for improvement here. Then input output level and profitability of crop production, you can see the paid out costs also differ widely between areas. If it is about 7,000 rupees in Marathwada, it's almost double, about 11,000 rupees in Western Maharashtra. Human labor is very important. This is a paradox in India, that population is so high, but still human labor is becoming so expensive. That's we call economic scarcity of labor. And if you add human and machine labor, the cost exceeds 75% of the variable cost. Therefore, the message is mechanization may help not only maybe in cutting the cost, but also maybe gender, but it may help the gender to some extent. We have to see that. Then relative profitable crops, you can see Bengal, gram and safflower are more profitable than Rabi sorghum, but as I said, Rabi sorghum fodder is crucial for livestock, and therefore through fodder sorghum dominates, because without fodder the milk production is not be there, farmers cannot get a sustained flow of income. Wheat and Bengal gram are more profitable than Rabi sorghum, but still in Western Maharashtra, Rabi sorghum is important. Then how do they utilize the sorghum grain and fodder? So home consumption, largely 30% of the grain for home consumption, and this perhaps this 30%, it would have been higher, but for the governmental supply of rice and wheat in most of the states where rice and wheat prices are kept abysmally low levels to increase their consumption. But nevertheless, sorghum is still forming a substantial part of the consumption. Fodder, you can see 75% of the fodder is retailed because they have to feed it for their livestock, and regulated market is a preferred market in both the areas, and weekly market is the second preference. Consumption of Rabi sorghum, again you can see dominant food grain of hope and nano farmers, despite the supply of, as I said, wheat and rice. That's to be appreciated, and I think that's because of the practice convention, but it's easy to break the convention, but fortunately the livestock will not break the convention. Although the humans, their tongue will change faster, but livestock will still continue to like the millet fodder, though human beings may change. So you can see the consumption is per capita is about 119 kgs per capita per year. Dr. Professor Nagaraj sent me very good information last week about the how the consumption data at the meso, macro and micro level will give different picture for the policymakers or scientists. If you look at the all India data, the consumption of millets will be less than 10% of the total food price. But here if you look the consumption of millets forms 33 to 40% of the total food price. Therefore, we cannot look at the macro level data and make any conclusion that millets are losing their importance. So if you look at the micro level data, we can know, like the Hope survey is indicating, that millets do form a substantial portion of not only food but also feed. So there's a very important message from this study, I think. Then you can see Rabi sorghum has no substitute. That's what farmers have indicated. There is no substitute for Rabi sorghum. In Hope, 42% of them have indicated. And sorghum consumption is decreasing due to preference for wheat and by children. A few farmers have indicated, again, it's an opinion survey, and only 1% opined that sorghum consumption is decreasing due to rise in standard of living. So farmers like in Karnataka, they like ragi or finger millet. So here they like the pearl millet. Sorry, sorghum. Constraints, you can see the moisture stress, of course, in the rainfed areas, moisture stress, then labor. Concentrate on these two only, rather than absolute scarcity, I mean physical scarcity, it is economic scarcity of labor. The labor wage rates are increasing, and that's maybe the backward bending supply kind of labor is the phenomenon. And farmers, because we see farmers in the villages not offering, because reservation wage has gone up because of even Narega and other programs. Production characteristics, you can see local variety fits well in relation to improved variety in Hope area, and improved varieties perform due to because of drought resistance character, the disease and pest resistance. We have shoot fly problem in sorghum, which we have to address, and better taste, they indicated, is very important for them. High cooking quality is important, and in improved varieties these are lacking, and it's a major concern. So that is the paradox in life. If you want quantity, you have to sacrifice quality, and if you want quality, you have to sacrifice quantity. So we may have to arrive at that sacrifice how much we can forgo quality for quantity. Then better fodder quality is mentioned mentioned as very important by farmers with more palatable leaves, disease free, and also storability in the soil. Gender involvement is recognized in all activities except marketing in hope area, sowing in non-hope area. So you can say land preparation, 95% indicated that men are involved, 38% said women are also involved. Threshing, they say that 97% indicated men are involved, but only 7% said women are also involved. So maybe it's also because of the high temperatures that women may feel difficult to work with. Similarly, Gujarat and Rajasthan also will be discussing later. In non-hope area also you can see land preparation 69%, fertilizer application 17%, import activities where women involvement is inevitable. Perhaps I quote GKVK Rao, who was our Secretary of Agriculture, mentioning that wherever bending in activities involved, a lot of bending is involved, women are obviously involved. So maybe wherever like weeding, interculture, harvesting, so women get more involved in those activities. Because men cannot bend as much as women can bend. So if you compare the baseline with Hope Project results, we will get some more lessons. You can say baseline yields are about 8 quintals per hectare, 8 to 10 quintals per hectare, and you can see the in the normal year, the yields have gone up 13 quintals to 17 quintals in areas, and the percentage increase over the base is about 70% and about 46% in the case of local variety. So you can say 60 to 70%. So the whole project has made some impact because Professor Nadas was mentioning 30 to 40% increase. But if you look at the terminal drought year, that's the challenge for us. The percentage decline is 20%, and though it is 32% higher on the local variety, we are still short of the target. So 20% reduction, and here about 20% in both the areas. And if you look at the 2011 drought year, it has reduced about 1%, here about 40%. So our the work here challenging will be for in the drought year what we should do rather than normal year. Some pictures regarding the survey. So let us come to per millet. So the Rajasthan, Haryana, and Gujarat are the 3 states, the sampling areas. I always, I never knew that pearl millet. But I termed the word BBC. It's like Bajra buffalo combination, or BBC as Bajra buffalo cow sheep combination. They like so much this pearl millet fodder that the pearl millet will sustain or will be sustained by buffaloes in these areas. So similarly, family size maybe they are of academic interest, family size, literacy, because this almost all uniform in all the areas. So let us see the resource endowments. Again, livestock is dominating. You can see more than 60% of the farmers own livestock, buffalo, cow, sheep, and goat. Here in Rajasthan, Gujarat, and Haryana. And 18% of the farmers have more than 2 sheep buffaloes. You can see. So therefore, livestock is a very important component in these dry areas which will demand this millet fodder. Then a few farmers also possess tractors, so they use both tractors and manual power. And percentage of irrigated land is not important, but 37% of the farmers in hope areas they have irrigation and 44% in non-hope area. But how much irrigation? It may not be very substantial, but they have some consistent irrigation. And so for integration of crops and livestock, like we call integrated farming systems. So Bajra, buffalo, cow, sheep, the combination in Rajasthan is very important. And that I always say will carry forward or will trigger the consumption of millet crops by converting the inferior to normal goods. Okay. Then you can see that most of the farmers had farmhouse, residential use, two-wheelers, radio. So communication and transportation to some extent is quite impressive. Sources of income, we can see 74% of the total income is from crops, followed by wage and non-farm income of 11%, dairy farms 5%, livestock 2%, and the crop income per hectare is about 21,000 rupees, and in non-crop areas the crop income forms about 75%, so that's important. So still the crop income forms a substantial portion of their total income, and therefore, and among crops, millets are quite crucial. So you can see some uniformity in these areas, in these districts. Consumption status, you can see, again, this is very impressive information for all of us. 135, I think it must be grams per capita, I'm sorry, not kgs, must be, because per capita per day is about 450 grams per capita per day. Per year, it's per year, okay. No, I was even looking at per day also.
No, you can calculate by 360.
Oh, per year, okay, I'm sorry. So about 33 to 40% will be the millet consumption, which is falling in many urban and many peri-urban areas. So 70% of the per millet produce is obviously millet consumption. If there is no demand from the market for feed, for food, only the farmers have to consume. There is no other alternative. And only 5% of the farmers are saying that per millet consumption is increasing, because as you said, in fact I tell Nagaraj several times that even in the ICRISAT, why we are not supplied millets for our food, but then he said we have to order for it. Okay, so we have to order for it. Then again, that depends upon the effective demand of the people. Okay, therefore the crop likely to replace per millet is wheat. That's what is indicated here as the opinion of the farmers. Then you can see per millet consumption rises due to increase in the family size, because the same farmers will have to increase in the rural areas, and increase in the life, that is longevity. There is longevity, and per millet is a conventional food, so like ragi or finger millet in Karnataka. And per millet is not substituted by any other crop and is sustaining on its own. That is again the opinion survey, and only few proportion of farmers find that per millet consumption is decreasing due to preference for wheat by children, etc. Because therefore they are accustomed to the per millet consumption. Then the crop productivity, if you look at Kharif, there will be no single crop dominates the cropping pattern. Kharif per millet dominates, cotton, then major, then in Rabi mustard and wheat they dominate. Then crop productive per millet about 17.5 quintals per hectare. Productivity in both normal years is about 40 to 60% higher than the normal year. So normal year is okay, but we are worried about the drought years, because in the drought year, below normal year, the productivity is 75% lower than the normal year. Therefore, the rainfall decides the productivity. That's well known, but therefore the need for research and development, also other efforts to come into force in the below normal year is very important. And in the other state, the non-crop area is about 80% of the Kharif area, about 50%, 80% is occupied by per millet. And you can see that productivity again here is very low, 582 to 735 kgs per hectare, and above normal rainfall it's about 10 quintals to 11 quintals per hectare, and below normal it comes to even 2 quintals per hectare. So the information is that both public and private or proprietary varieties are vulnerable to below normal rainfall. So even proprietary varieties have not been able to make a substantial mark in facing the drought in these areas. So therefore still there is scope for R&D. There is crop diversification because of the presence of irrigation in Haryana, because of the presence of irrigation. but also because of the market. So irrigation alone will not help in diversification unless market promotes the crops which are cultivated in the irrigation area. In Kharif season, millet occupies the largest proportion of area in oak area, followed by cotton, whereas in non-oak area, cotton occupies 19%, followed by the millet. And in the Rabi season in Haryana, mustard and green gram occupy around 70% of the area, while mustard and wheat occupy 50%. So millet productivity and adoption rate, productivity is in low management group, LMG is about 78 quintals, but potentially it is 22 quintals. So you can see yield gap is 180%. So where there is low management effort, the yield gap is to 200%. In medium to high management group farms, the private hybrids are performing better than the in productive irrigation, maybe one irrigation, if they can give, the yield gap reduces to 50 to 80%. So irrigation has a substantial potential to reduce the yield gap substantially from maybe 200% to 50 to 100%. The local varieties of millet still in vogue occupy about 35% of the area. Okay, so that means still there is scope for increasing, because when you look at the already figures, we say, of course, 65 to 70% of the area is in traditional varieties. So, Rajasthan. The first one is Rajasthan. Second Gujarat and third is Haryana. The popular millet is HHB 67 improved variety, and that is in an area of about 14 to 18%. So this there is scope for increase of this variety in Rajasthan. Then in Gujarat, you can see the productivity is still better, about 9 to 11 quintals than Rajasthan. But the potentiality is 24 quintals. So again, there are still the gap is about 130 to 150%. Both in medium and high management group, both the public and private hybrids perform due to productive irrigation. And the most popular cultivar is about GHB 558 and GHB 19, occupies about 15% of the area. And in Haryana, it's higher, productivity is higher, 50 to 18 quintals, and the potential is also higher, 25 to 29 quintals, and yield gap is about 60 to 100%. And here the varieties are HHB 67 and HHB 67 improved, and they occupy 50% of the area. So these three states have different potentials and different scenarios. Rajasthan followed by Gujarat and Haryana. Again, the common denominator is that human labor is forming a major portion of the cost of cultivation. This is again a paradox in the country where population is so high. That's only because of the reservation wage is increasing. The per quintal cost of production of millet about is 460 in both the areas per quintal, and human labor forms about 50 to 60% in both areas. So human labor problem, especially economic scarcity of labor, is very crucial. Then of course, if you look at the benefit cost ratio, we get crops like till, sesamum, then green gram. These are the BC ratios in the brackets. They are the competing crops for millet in the rainfed areas, but still millet is rolling because of the drought and also because of the livestock. Then cotton and castor are competing crops for millet in the irrigated areas. Then in Gujarat, the proportion falls to 40%. As labor forms 40% of the cost, but labor plus machine, it shoots up to 73%. Maybe there is substantial portion of machine labor in Gujarat compared to other states. Then the per quintal cost rises up to 80 rupees compared to Rajasthan. But therefore, if the machine labor were not to be there, maybe the wages would have still gone up in Gujarat. So therefore, mechanization becomes an inevitable necessary even in the millet-dominated areas. In Haryana, labor cost forms 40%, followed by fertilizers and format manure. Then the cost of production per quintal per millet is about 800 rupees, comparable to that in Gujarat. competing crops are cotton, cluster wheat, and BT cotton, which is netted for 6,000 rupees, but not all the farmers can afford to grow. Next to BT cotton is the cluster wheat. So what are the constraints in pearl millet? Low market price, that's it. Like again, because of the lack of effective demand. I always say this, even to my students, we always say medicinal plants have to be consumed, but who is there to consume? Therefore, medicinal plants also have low market price because of lack of consumer demand, lack of access to credit, and high price fluctuation. These three states, Gujarat and Rajasthan. Moisture stress is another constraint which is facing us. Farmers, though millets require low moisture, even there we have moisture stress. Therefore, you can see moisture stress plays a very major role in these states. Non-availability of labor, as I mentioned, I would rather say economic scarcity of labor in all the three states, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Haryana. Then unstable yield, stability in yield is again a problem. Lack of technical extension efforts, lack of technical, poor extension support from the government officials. I always, we are discussing with our students, the Gram Sevak or the village assistant or the village level worker has disappeared from India's extension since perhaps after the Green Revolution. The non-availability of suitable equipment, especially for harvesting and threshing, in Gujarat and Rajasthan, women may not be able to harvesting because of the length of the plant stock. Then marketing of grain and fodder, again an opinion survey. You can see about 80% of the farmers who produced the pearl millet sold in the regulated market. So regulated market is an important market for them. Even in North Hoperi, about 75% of the farmers indicated that pearl millet is sold in the regulated market, and the market surplus was about 80% and 30% hope and if you come to Gujarat, about 33% of the farmers consumed 100%. So the millet produce. So there is some market surplus here in Gujarat. And again, the regulated market is one of the major markets where they can sell the pearl millet. And marketable surplus of grain and fodder was to the extent of 40%, about 30 to 40%. Price received is quite low, 7 to 8 rupees per kilo. And in Haryana, 50% of the farmers, in hope, and 32% of the farmers consume 100% of the grain produce. So they prefer the hope consumption and balance sold in the market, and they sell, again, prefers to sell in the regulated market. General participation, highest involvement of women labor in weeding. As I mentioned, vending, wherever vending activity is there, women participate. Weeding, harvesting, and threshing, okay, that you can see here. Sowing and marketing activity, which are decision-making activity, women are not involved. And there is modest involvement of women labor in Rajasthan in pearl millet, maybe because they are unable to withstand the high temperatures, and maybe cultural factors in Rajasthan. In Gujarat, involvement of gender is in all activities, except a few activities, but that is recognized by the farmers. Land preparation, all the farmers said that men are involved, women are not involved. And 38% said women are also involved. In threshing, 98% said that men are involved, but 86% said women are also involved in threshing. In marketing activity, about 83% of the farmers said men are involved, and 41% of the farmers said women are also involved. And women and men involvement in pearl millet cultivation is substantial in Gujarat. In millet areas, women contribution is substantial, and cultivation of pearl millet is, we can say, a joint activity of both men and women in Gujarat. In Haryana, pearl millet is skewed towards men labor in both hope and non-hope areas. Involvement of women labor is the highest in activities like weeding, as I mentioned, wherever vending is involved, and sowing and marketing is devoid of women labor like here in Rajasthan. And marketing activity is, of course, depends on the market surplus. And reasons for modest involvement in Haryana. What is the message for pearl millet from baseline survey? The yield gap is exceeding 50 to 100% in Rajasthan, Gujarat, and therefore crop improvement is crucial, followed by management practices like seed treatment, using seed cum fertilizer drill for line sowing, optimum plant population, then optimum fertilizer dose, opening furrows for moisture conservation. So these are very important for that is the first component of the addressed. So yield gap is to be reduced substantially. In Rajasthan, pearl millet local varieties are still ruling in 35% of the area. Therefore, there is scope for increasing area with improved varieties and hybrids. The variety HSP 67 improved is performing due to short duration and drought tolerance, as well as resistance to dollar mildew, which has to be heralded in areas where local varieties are there. Then enriching fodder nutrition is also another important message from this baseline survey. Because of wastage, we have to reduce the wastage in improved varieties through value addition appropriately. Gujarat and Haryana proprietary hybrid pearl millet varieties are ruling. Then there is labor shortage is limiting crop production, I mentioned earlier. Therefore, possibility of introducing mechanical harvesters can be considered. I mentioned earlier, Bajra, buffalo, cow, sheep, BBCS, I said, a combination will sustain the milk cultivation in Rajasthan, hopefully, and it's the livestock which will stand by millets, not human beings. That's my feeling. And Bajra, buffalo combination sustain millet cultivation in Gujarat and Haryana. With the declining millet consumption at national level, increasing contribution of milk and livestock at state level, livestock sector largely triggers cultivation of millets, as millet fodder is crucial. I repeat. Thus, millet, which is becoming an inferior good, will become a normal good as consumed through livestock products. Then message for sorghum. Sorghum buffalo cow combination sustains millet in Maharashtra. Again, it's a livestock related growth. Rabi sorghum, local improved varieties are ruling. Yield gap in sorghum exceeds 100%. Therefore, package of practices have to be adopted. Shoot fly management, soil and water conservation, drought management need to be addressed. Enriching fodder nutrition and reducing wastage in improved varieties through appropriate value addition, I mentioned earlier. What is desirable is short duration because the day temperatures are very high. Disease resistance and drought tolerance are crucial. Scope for gender involvement. Our Vice Chancellor always says men are moving out of agriculture of all ages. Only women may, like women and livestock will be on the farm in future. So therefore, women involvement has to be, they should be involved in cultivation. Consumption of millets at village level is more than 33% of the total food grains. While at national level, the macro data shows millets forms less than 5 to 6%. Therefore, we cannot look at the national level or state level data on millets and make any conclusion that millet consumption is falling. We should look at like Hope Survey did, exactly like Hope Survey did.
Both sorghum and millet.
So sorry, he always cautions me. Sorghum and pearl millet. They form a substantial portion of consumption at the village level. But this figure is masked. Like India, the per capita figure masks development as well as some of the data from the realities, I should say. Without the Hope Survey, we would not have been able to know that a substantial portion of the millet is consumed at the farm level, because the national data shows different figures. Labor becoming economically scarce affecting productivity, and therefore maybe partial population. So maybe I'm sure ICRISAT will bring smile on ICRISAT and livestock will bring smile on sat farmers, because I was mentioning 85% of the population in India are non-vegetarian by birth. Only 15% of them are vegetarian, but 85% of them are vegetarian by practice because they cannot afford. So maybe the livestock will enable scale economy and then milk and then meat and other. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Chandrakanth.
Thank you.
I would like to thank you for a comprehensive presentation of the results of the baseline. I'm sure there are